I'm gonna keep the comments open. So today I know the stream is an hour earlier. I announced it on my OnlyFans and also on Twitter and my Snap, but I don't know if people are just used to having it at a certain time. So maybe some people will tune in for like the last half hour. I had to make an hour. What is going on with this hair? Okay. You know what? This hair always gives me issues. Maybe I should get rid of it. I don't know. Okay. Yes, thank you. I'm so happy people still knew the time and they showed up. It is usually an hour later, but my moderator had other plans, so he has to get to. So, okay, good. I'm glad people are here. Also, as always, we will be moving the party after an hour and a half over to my OnlyFans for a very different kind of live. Valentine's inspired. Okay, I got my little Valentine's bodysuit on. We're gonna do a little Valentine's show. So that's kind of been the Monday move, right? We go from here and then we go over there, and I love it. I look forward to Mondays. I feel like this is something that I can do on Mondays to kind of make all our Mondays a little bit better. Second item of business is that so everyone knows I have an OnlyFans, but I don't have a Fansly, and I know everybody, like most people, girls that have OnlyFans also have Fansly. I just never did it. And so now if I'm going to start it, especially after having curated a whole bunch of content and like an OnlyFans base, I'm thinking of having my Fansly maybe be something different. Like OnlyFans is only $7, but maybe if I had a Fansly, I would make it a little bit more long content, or maybe post my live streams directly onto my wall, my spicy live streams. With OnlyFans, I do not do. You have to either be there or you have to buy it later. So let me know what you guys think, or what you guys see other people doing that I can do to kind of have my Fansly be different than my OnlyFans. Or I know some people just prefer Fansly over OnlyFans and they just want the same thing. So I would love your feedback on that. Okay. And so today's topic was actually recommended by Hazard Stint. He's in the chat. I'm so happy he's here. And it's kind of a fun one. I didn't necessarily expect it to be like one that I was doing, like that's going to end up being fun. But after researching it, I thought it was really fun. I wish there were other women in this, or other women in this episode that like we could talk about this stuff together, because we're talking about nonverbal cues and attraction, and especially as it pertains to women and flirting. And I thought it was really interesting. Like I was thinking about it, and a lot of these I actually do. But I'm like, and just like reading about them and reading about how men and women interpret body language differently was really interesting. The stream has some lag. I kind of noticed that. Let me see what my Wi-Fi is at full bars. So hopefully it's just a little glitch. Is anybody else experiencing a lag? As if I would know what to do if there's a lag, honestly. I would just restart it. Let me see what the moderator says. There was a little at the beginning, but it seems stable now. Okay. Hopefully. Okay. Yeah, I did notice myself freezing. So I was like, I don't know what's going on. However, back to business. Yeah, so this was a really interesting topic for me, like just to look into. And I actually, like, as I was getting ready, because I was like literally an hour ago, I was like, I had this like mask on and I was in bed naked, just like so I had to get ready. But like, as I was getting ready, I also was watching videos and looking up videos about like attraction and compatibility. And I kind of want to make that next week's topic, because I think that stuff is really interesting too. And there's maybe a little bit of that I'll get into at the end if we have time. But I love how you guys are really always active in the chat. Okay. So nonverbal cues and attraction. So when it comes to body language and nonverbal cues, I hate, like, if you go on YouTube and you're like nonverbal cues, it's all like these, I feel like predatory, like 9 signs that she loves you. And it's like very black and white, and it doesn't work like that. And especially in the body language kind of genre, actually attraction and nonverbal cues is actually it's backed by science. But all the stuff you guys see on body language and deception, oh, if they look this way, they're lying. If they look that way, they're lying. A lot of that is pseudoscience. And there's a bunch of like other videos and other like articles and research you could look at that proves that kind of stuff is pseudoscientific. So you can't really tell when people are lying from body language. All of these like former police officer tells you, like, no, it doesn't work like that. But with attraction, there actually is a lot of science to back up a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about, or a lot of the kind of cues I'm going to be talking about. But a lot of our communication is nonverbal. There's that stat that always goes around that it's like 90 something percent. It is not 90 something percent, but it is a decent amount. So, hello, cheese. Okay, make sure I can see the comments. And I think it's really interesting how a lot of times, men make the first move, but women actually make the first move when it comes to non-verbal behavior. And women are more likely to communicate attraction non-verbally than men are. And I don't know if that's probably a mix of maybe a little bit of a genetic component or, social component. I don't know exactly where a lot of this comes from, and a lot of it is theory. As to why we behave the way we behave, but we do know that these behaviors do indicate attraction. We do know that a lot of women, they call it signaling behavior, where like eye contact. It's kind of like, you've all heard like women used to drop the handkerchief and that would kind of signal to a man that she was interested, but that's not always the case. It's not even always that it's initial, like I see a man across the room and I'm like signaling to him necessarily, but maybe when I get to talk to him more and know him more, I notice, especially when I was reading these, how much my body language will change. Also, interestingly, and not surprisingly, women are far better at reading body language and nonverbal cues than men. Surprise, surprise. And I mean, I kind of knew this, but there's still that side of me. And I feel like a lot of women that are like, are y'all stupid? Like, I feel like a lot of us are like, how are you not reading this? But it's not your fault. Apparently, you guys are just worse at it than we are. So hopefully nobody's going to get offended by that. I don't know if we have the guy in from last time. I forgot his name. I don't know if he'll be back, but I hope he is. I hope not really. I hope somebody else can come be like the troublemaker of the chat. I love when there's a troublemaker. So the show lied to me. Yes, kind of. Like a lot of that stuff is not actually backed by science, but it's so like attractive to audiences. And a lot of times you have to realize, like, a lot of the sensationalized, think of like the kind of TV shows your mom used to watch, like Oprah and stuff, where they'll just be like, oh, a body language expert is going to come in and tell you exactly how people are lying. Like, no. And then if you actually, like, we're in the age of information, you always want to check, make sure it's actually backed by science. But luckily in the attraction arena, we do have a lot of research that indicates that a lot of this stuff is nonverbal cues that indicate attraction. And even just anecdotally, I feel like when I was reading these, I was like, yeah. Okay, Cheese asked a really random question, but I'll address it. Can I ask you a question? How do you feel about a female lying and taking advantage of men on OnlyFans? For instance, you're on your Reddit profile says no paywall, but then when you subscribe to your wall, you have a paywall. I do not have a paywall on my wall, so it wrote no wall PPV, and that just means that you don't have to unlock the posts on my wall. So if you go on my wall right now, you can actually see before you subscribe, I have like 1.5 thousand videos and images, and all of that is free when you subscribe. Now, if you guys want 10-minute long videos, 5-minute long videos, my sex tapes that are out, those are all not going to be for $7 a month. And I make videos every other day that are full length, super explicit content. Like, let's just use some common sense here. I'm not giving you guys 15 of those a month, plus my thousands of posts on my wall for that. So yeah, I don't think that's being dishonest, but I know a lot of people used to DM me and be like, hey, on your wall, like when you subscribe, it says that you have over 1,000 posts. Do I get to see all those when I subscribe, or do I have to unlock them? And so I wrote no wall PPV, which means that nothing on my wall needs to be unlocked. The things that need to be unlocked are things that go directly into messages. All right. Anyway, they're only 3 seconds. That is not true. They are longer. Now, there's nothing longer. You probably won't get anything longer than a minute on my wall ever, because I post 1 to 2, sometimes 3, 4 times a day. And I post I have a rule that, like, for instance, I post on Reddit too, that my Reddit posts are going to be bonuses. So I always post once a day on my PPV days, and I post twice a day on my non-PPV days. And all of those are going to be stuff that's just for OnlyFans. And then if I have a Reddit post, I'll just add it into the mix. So you guys get an entire wall with, I'm actually going to check how many posts there are, and then we're going to get back on topic. So there are currently, if you were to go to my page, 1.5 thousand pictures and 613 videos that you automatically get fully explicit on my wall when you subscribe for $7 a month. And I am very proud of this fact. So the usual rebill rate is like, I think 10 to 20%. My rebill rate is over 50%. So a lot of people feel like they're getting their money's worth out of this. And I get that comment all the time. So a lot of girls ask me, how is your rebill rate so high? And I say, because I make sure that for that price, because my price is pretty low to subscribe, it's only $6.99. You're getting a ton of content. You get access to my live streams for free, which I'll be doing right after this. You get to message me. I don't work with an agency, so you're actually talking to me. But anyways, I should tell you, I'm not sure how much you care about Trish, but you're technically not. I'm not advertising it. I'm just saying I'm going to be live over there. I'm not really advertising. I'm just answering your question. Oh, is Pigeon Emperor the same guy from last time? You know what? We'll give him some props for coming back. Has she covered? No, I haven't covered nonverbal cues yet. Read her body language. Okay. Anyway, so yes, men are not as good at reading nonverbal cues as women are. And also men are better at hiding. So from the research that we have, women, it's harder for women to mask. It's called masking, mask their emotions. You can really read their facial expressions or whatever. They're not as good as hiding it as men are. It's called masking behavior. And there's been a research on this specifically in the workplace, et cetera. And I think part of that is just socialization. Men are taught not to show your feelings. And so men have probably over time tried to develop skills in order to not show their feelings. And women aren't socialized in that way. So very different. Yes, I fear nothing. Due to my high value status. Good to be back. Well, welcome back. Okay, let me get back to my notes. So I just got this off of a article, but there was a Harvard University psychologist, Robert Rosenthal, conducted the most critical study to analyze sex differences in decoding nonverbal behaviors. He developed the PONS test, Profile of Nonverbal Sensitivity, to ascertain people's ability to read nonverbal cues. The PONS, I don't know if people say it like that or they just use the PONS, consists of a series of video clips of young women expressing a range of emotions, including maternal love, gratitude, seeking forgiveness, seductiveness, jealous, rage, and hatred. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but they found that in 77% of studies, women were superior to men in accurately judging messages communicated by facial expressions, body movement, and voice quality. So I feel like I'm really good at reading body language, but I do feel like a lot of times men aren't. But also, studies do show that men who are better at it usually do better at dating. So there's just so much that goes into how good people are at like dating, or how, marketable they are, like their value in the sexual marketplace, like we talked about last week when it comes to high value men. And being able to read a woman's social cues is actually a really great skill to develop if you don't already have it. I don't know how much of it is just innate and how much of it you can learn. But interesting stuff. So let's get into it. And as I'm going to say, early signaling is usually done by women. So by the time you sometimes talk to a woman, she has already signaled to you. And a lot of the time, men will have missed all of it. How crazy is that? How powerfully attractive a feature is a man's body language? I think body language can be attractive, but we're talking about cues, like attraction cues. However, there is what is it called? It's called the liking of reciprocity. There's some type of phenomenon that, like, if you feel like somebody likes you, you're more likely to like them. We could talk about all that stuff next week. I said earlier in the stream that I want to do my next week's stream on compatibility and attraction and stuff like that, because I kind of got into it at the end of this and I was really interested in it for next week. But I'm going to go through some of the stuff that, research has found women do to indicate attraction. And the opposite is usually done to indicate, like, don't touch me, don't stay away from me. And I am like the queen of that. So one of them is like if her body is kind of open. So if she's like sitting next to you and her arms are crossed like this, that is a sign that she's like she doesn't want to get closer to you. And I do this all the time. Like I am the queen, because I usually am somebody that's more standoffish in the beginning, and I will sit there like like that when I don't want to be touched or I don't want anyone to get closer to me. But when I do, then I'm very much like more relaxed, right? So I mean, this is common sense. When somebody's more relaxed looking, they're more comfortable looking, you're looking at them and they just seem like they're chill, they're like whatever, that's a good sign, right? A lot of times with women, I think especially in the early stages of their, you know, relationship with men, we are more like, okay, you know, uncomfortable a little bit. And I think maybe it goes both ways, but I think men are usually more comfortable with touch in more situations than women are. And for me, that's a big one, is I'll be like, and then crossing your legs does not mean that she's not attracted to you. Sometimes that's just like how women sit and they're trying to be sexy. But look at where her knees are tilted. And I noticed this because I was out with a guy recently that I was not that into. And like, I specifically like remember that my knees were already kind of tilted towards him. So I kind of like moved them to be tilted the other. I didn't even realize it till I read this. And I like remember that that's what I do. Like we kind of tilt towards you if we want to be kind of closer to you. If we're kind of like crossed and kind of moving away, then that is a sign that we don't want to be closer to you. And I feel like because I am somebody that usually in the early stages of hanging out with a guy, I am kind of standoffish. I definitely lean towards more doing the cross legs. And like the men that still like try to like, oh, let me put my hand on her knee, or if we're at the movies, like I hate that. Like you're eliminated. So these kind of things are really important. And another thing I would say is that which I read and a lot of times do initiate touch. And my advice for a guy is, unless you can really tell that she's very comfortable, she's very open, she's very much tilted towards you, don't initiate touch, because the accidental touching that this was talking about, like that I read a bunch of times, like women will like not even accidentally, like I bumped into you, oops, but like we will just find excuses kind of to like just rub your arm or something. Like I remember there was a guy and I thought he was really like, we were kind of talking, then we met, and then he was walking to the elevator, and I just like as he stood up to walk to the elevator, I just kind of like touched his arm. And that's even how I knew. And I will say, I don't know if this is the case for everyone, but sometimes my body language will tell me how I feel about somebody before I even like process it or think about it, right? Like there are times where I'll meet somebody and I have that attraction to them, and I notice that my body will naturally, like I'm not thinking, oh, how can I touch this person? That's not what I'm thinking, but I'm thinking like, ooh, like I kind of want to touch them. So I will be closer to them. I will kind of like, if we're standing and we're waiting for something, I'll be kind of shoulder to shoulder with you instead of like standing like here while you're over there. Did you hit it? No, not that night. And actually not ever with that guy, because he didn't live here. He lived in another state somewhere else. You guys are just obsessed with what happened in these specific examples. If you want to know, I can tell you, but it's not just one specific example. Also, the reason my voice is shaking is this fan is kind of making me cold. Guys, give me a second. I'm gonna turn off the fan. I'm also in a bodysuit that will be debuted on OnlyFans later, so I'm trying not to show you. Anyways, so that's a big one. Like women will initiate touch, and there are instances, I would say, where men are very like they won't, they're either nervous, or you will like give them every cue, like you'll touch them, you'll get close to them, you'll whatever, and they still won't make a move. But that's pretty rare. Like a lot of times, like by the time like you kiss or something, please do not, like my recommendation is to really be like, she touched me before I touched her. She's moving in closer to me before I move in closer to her. Those are things you should really look for. I know some of the like men I know that get the most bitches, they literally always say, oh, I just wait for they make the first move as in verbally. Men make the first move verbally. Men will take the initiative to like try to hang out with you and stuff. But physically, a lot of times women will give you the cue. And can we grab the dong first kiss? Absolutely not. Unless that's the vibe. Like unless you're like partying it up or whatever. But if it's like a date type of thing, I went out with a guy, what was it? Maybe like 2 months ago, or no, like a month ago here. And it was so weird when I was getting out of the car, which like I wasn't that into him. He's like, "Can I have a kiss?" Like, are you 12? Don't ask that. Don't. I mean, ask that if it's like you're really unsure and you're already like very close, and it's like, "Hey, is it okay? Like, how would you feel if blah blah?" Like that's okay. But like if you're in the driver's seat and I'm getting out of the passenger seat and I'm like trying to get out fast because I'm trying to avoid the situation, I'm like, "Hey, bye." It's like, "Can I have a kiss?" I'm like, "No." So, that was weird. I wasn't into that, and that hasn't happened to me in a very long time. But that's my advice. Okay, so some other ones. Like I said, this was kind of fun because I'm like, and then I want to know your guys' perspective. Like, are you guys like, "Oh, I don't understand when girls do that," or "I don't really notice"? So yeah, her shoulders move towards you, accidentally touching you, eye contact, tilting the head. I do that. I tilt the head all the time. I'm like, okay, let me listen to you. Eye contact, but also I was reading that if you're looking at them, then they look away. And I was like, yeah, I guess I do that because it shows that they're nervous, they're interested, whatever. But I also do that if I don't like you. Like, I feel like I do that anyway. Like if you're directly staring at me, I feel like I always look away. I don't know if that's just me. So there is actually evidence that they blink more. I don't know how you would know because it's like, how often do people normally blink? And I don't want anyone to sit there and be like analyzing how much someone blinks. But Dr. David Givens, director of the Center for Nonverbal Studies, says that rapid eye blink or eyelash fluttering, that's kind of what it is, like, which I don't know if I do. This would be one of the ones that if I do it, I don't realize. Means you've raised the blinker's level of physiological or psychological arousal. When a woman blinks suddenly faster, you may have increased her level of sexual excitement. There's also a lot of pseudoscience in this. I try to make sure that the stuff I'm finding is backed by some type of actual research, but also be careful. You guys, pigeon emperors, personally, I've always been extraordinarily perceptive across all the dimensions of human communication. I don't know pigeon emperors. I don't think so, but A+ for confidence or effort or whatever. So playing with the lips, this was really interesting to me. Like, girls will like kind of have their lips open, like blah, blah, blah. That is a sign. I don't know if I do that, even like applying her lip gloss and like whatever. I do that all the time though. So I'm not sure if I do that one. I also don't know why I'm making this all about me. I guess I'm just, why not? Playing with her hair, revealing the neck seems to be something. Now, I do that because my hair is always kind of to the side, but if a girl is kind of like really playing with her hair, revealing her neck, that's kind of like a biological impulse that people have, like kind of releasing or wanting the guy to get like her pheromones and, just kind of opening herself up. I think that's part of openness, like exposing the neck, like an area, or like exposing closeness to the person. I always think like human beings at the end of the day, we're such animals. Like we are really just animals. We just have bigger brains than other species. So we think we're all that, but we're really at the end of the day just animals. And if there was the way we study like other animals and birds and chimps and like we watch Planet Earth and shit and we're like, oh, they're so funny when they're mating. We're probably fucking hilarious when we're mating too. So that's why I think this is all funny. Head tilting, moving her hips more when she's walking, kind of like as a sign of like, and I feel like I do that. Like I will walk sexier. Like when it, like, and the example said, like if you're at a restaurant and she's getting up to go to the bathroom, I am very like, how am I walking? But also you wouldn't know how her hips move normally. So you wouldn't really know that, but that is something that I feel like we do. Like we just try to appear more sexy. Changing her voice, the pitch and voice, we all know this one. I feel like I even do this sometimes. Like I try to sound softer. I feel like I don't have like an aggressive or deep voice, but I feel like, especially like when I'm passionate about something, I'm very much like, and I try to be more like, and that's not even like conscious, because honestly, if I think about it consciously, I'm like, no, I shouldn't do that. What the fuck? But it is like subconscious kind of, to a degree. Question: when a girl mentioned other guys flirting with her, what reaction are they looking for? I honestly brushed it off because they didn't know what she wanted me to say. Depends on context, I think. And sometimes women are like, if she's talking about being uncomfortable with other people flirting with her, that may be a cue sometimes to you, like, this makes me uncomfortable. It might be to gauge like your reaction. Like, I know for me, I don't do this, but sometimes I like to see how men like your views, especially on women. So if I see that you're very like pro, and this is why the Andrew Tate shit doesn't work. We don't like it. We don't like men who don't like us. Like, it's just very common. We don't like men who don't respect women. So when I'm very turned on by a guy who respects women, who is pro women. Now that doesn't mean that you're like, you want a tampon, baby? Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. And that's what they kind of paint it out to be. They're like, oh, these like feminist men. And I wouldn't even say like a guy who comes out and is like, I'm a feminist. But if I'm like, hey, what do you think about sex work? And if they have these crazy misogynistic views, which never actually really happens that much in real life, it seems to be something that the fake alpha males online tell the incels, and then the incels who don't know any better are like, yeah, this is the way. It's not the way. It's not attractive. So what would I do what do I do to react if a girl starts revealing her neck? You guys know I'm dyslexic on Twitch for some reason. Is this a cue that I can be more flirty? I would say look for multiple things. Like, because, if like, for instance, if my hairstyle is like this, then I'm going to be like this in general. But if you're noticing multiple cues, then maybe be like, okay. I think the biggest thing for me is her body language moving to open and close, or is it moving to close and away? That's a big one. Eye contact, gaze, I feel like, and girls, we do this. There have been times, especially when I was younger, I don't really do this now because I don't fucking even leave the house right now. But back in the day, it's like, if I wanted somebody to talk to me, me and my friends, both, we would all like stay there. And like, if a guy was standing right there and I wanted him to talk to me, I would stay in that area and I would kind of look over. Or if there was a vending machine next to him, I tell my friend, let's go get somebody from the vending machine. Like, it's very, like, some women may make the first move, but I feel like a lot of women, we just signal a lot and hope you guys get it. And sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. And then sometimes we're signaling like, no. And then you guys still don't get that either. I don't know what's wrong with you. Just kidding. Yes, Hazard Stints comment. Can we put this up? By the way, fellas, cues don't equal unleashing all of your sexual energy towards a woman who seems interested. Yes, take it easy and make sure she's comfortable, secure. And this is why I said you shouldn't actually do anything, like let her make the first move, especially like with a kiss or any kind of actual touch. I would say don't touch her until she touches you. And like touches, and you have to understand, this is like this is a buildup. When I say touches you, it doesn't mean she grabs your, like, she's not going to do that, right? But if you feel like, you're going out and she's walking really close to you to wherever you're going, and she kind of maybe like starts like, kind of like she wants to, that's what I do. I don't ever hold your hand, but I will position my hand in a way or like my arm in a way that's like, okay, this is very like inviting for you to link arms with me. You know what I mean? Like, very, very, it's like, oh, okay, she wants to link up. Oh, she already kind of touched me. Okay. Let her kind of make the first move. And then if you do make any kind of move, make it subtle and see how she reacts to that. So, if you're like, okay, I think she's kind of like open and close to me, then maybe as you're getting up, touch her arm a little bit, or like, if she's putting on her jacket, just like, put your hand on her back for a second. This is not time to grab ass. This is not the time to, because that will turn up people off. And now you will be a creep. Okay. And so, and let me tell you something. This is not there's this like idea in like the incel world that, oh, when attractive men do it, it's fine, but when we do it, it's not fine. No, it's not fine when anybody does it. And attractive men don't act like this. And a lot of times, even men who, we all know men who may not be very, you know, stereotypically, they're not like split, they get women, it's because they know how this stuff, right? It is not that there's this idea in incel culture that like, oh, with them, we're just like, but then attractive men come and they just like grab our titties and we're like, yes, no, they don't do that. They're very smooth. And part of that being smooth is understanding this stuff. So I definitely, Hazard Stint's comment is very, very much something you should listen to. In fact, the sexual energy, like, yes, you're attracted and attraction does link with sex, but the sex, like, you need to really warm people up and make them comfortable before you unleash anything like that. And when a woman, I am the most standoff-ish woman, physical woman you will meet, but if I like you and you make me comfortable and we've already gone a little bit, okay, touch my arm, okay, we're maybe holding hands, blah blah blah, I will start really, like, we will really, really start signaling in a way that you can't miss. So at least that's what I think. Maybe you guys can miss it. What's your take on the gym creep trend where girls record guys in the gym and upload a TikTok? I think it's a case-by-case basis. I've seen a couple of videos where I don't think that, I think the women, they weren't overreacting, but I do think that, you know, it's the internet and people sometimes want to do things for clicks. Or I think sometimes because we do get, you know, stared at and that kind of thing a lot of women may misinterpret, okay, he was looking this way, maybe, like, you know. So I think that depends case by case basis. There are ones that I think are creepy, but there are ones where I'm like, oh, you know, like, this isn't clear. And I do want to say that just because, like, sometimes people may feel uncomfortable because of past experiences that don't really have anything to do with you. And it's not right for them to kind of put those past experiences onto you, but that, you know, be understanding of that sometimes. That's why I would say, like, even in these kind of situations, like, don't be aggressive, don't overdo anything, because you never know how that person may perceive it or what they're used to in their lives. So yeah, some of those videos, I think, you know, they didn't need to be made, and that person didn't need to be embarrassed in that way for something like that, because I think it just minimizes because there are real gym creeps. And some of those videos, I'm like, those aren't even the gym creeps. Like, at least get the gym creeps, because now you're like kind of minimizing how prevalent gym creeps actually are. Okay. Okay, next. What do you guys think so far? Is this making sense? Oh, that thing I was talking about, it's called the reciprocal liking effect. You're more likely to like someone if you feel like they like you. We're self-centered egotistical creatures. We like to be liked, and a lot of times we like people because of how they make us feel versus them themselves. And a lot of people who like are really good at the art of seduction understand that. I suck at that. Men still like me, but I'm surprised at times because I'm very bad at that. It's interesting. I would like it if you talk to us too. What do you mean? If I am talking to you guys. When is it appropriate time to move in on the donk? For you, probably never, because I feel like you've asked that too many times. So you should just, since the donk seems to be really at the forefront of your mind, you should not ever act on that impulse. That's a terrible fate. You know, there's also one I saw where it's like if she's like revealing her chest more, like kind of her posture. I don't do that because my chest is already so fucking big, and I'm weirdly I'm not self-conscious about it. Like I try to hide it all the time, but I'm definitely not like, because then I'll look like a psycho. Also considering what tomorrow is, any Valentine's Day plans? No, I'm single. And I was never one that really cared much about Valentine's Day, or any kind of holiday, really. I'm like much more the type of person that it'll be a random Wednesday where like nobody has anything. I'm like, let's make today a holiday rather than like when everybody's celebrating it and they kind of dictate how to celebrate it. Oh, this is what people do. And this is, I don't like, I kind of like to do my own thing. Most girls say that. Why? What about Valentine's Day? I feel like most girls don't say that. But yeah, next week I really want to get into attraction and compatibility. So that's kind of what I was starting to get into, and maybe we can get into a little bit of it today. The idea, do opposites really attract? No. I mean, a lot of times people are really attracted to similarity, and there are different domains of similarity. And we can kind of get into that. I came for advice. I got none. I'm going back to Andrew Tate for guidance to get the donk. I don't think Andrew Tate has helped a single person get the donk. Personally, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe one person. He's not even getting any donk. He's in prison. So yeah. But there are different, domains of similarity. That's really interesting to me too. And different relationships that, hold on. Is he getting, my moderator says, is the donk getting got right now? Andrew Tate. I don't know. I don't think he would tell. That's not very top G. Not very top G to endure that. I think he tweeted like a couple days ago, like, go lock yourself in a bathroom for 24 hours without your phone and see how long you last. That's how I've been for like whatever days. And then like a lot of people were mocking him. Like, well, top G's don't complain and show any type of weakness or whatever. Just man up. Stay in solitary confinement. Top G. Okay. But interestingly, I thought I was just looking at a 2018 study about this and domains of similarity, and people we're attracted to people who are similar to us. So even little things, like, we're honestly such fucking irrational creatures. Like, if someone has a similar name or the same birthday as you, we're gonna be more attracted to them. Like, how stupid, but that's what the research shows. Donk aside, what about a little old-fashioned love and romance, going in dates, making one feel special, stuff like that? Yeah. I think that's still definitely alive and well. I don't think we do that as often. And also, I was thinking, how does social media affect all this, right? You can't tell how many of us, when we're texting and you can't read people's cues, you misinterpret things, right? It's very hard on social media or through dating apps to be able to get these nonverbal cues. So very interesting. I'm actually not a Tate fan, but I think he's a criminal snake oil salesman. But I do see the substance that makes him so much more popular than everyone else in the space. But expressing this tends to trigger people. Anyways, not to open the Tate topic back up. I see how he appeals to a certain group of men that are very lost. And we did a stream on incels a long time ago, but these people just have a very warped view of reality and a very incorrect perception of the way things are. And so it's very easy. I can appeal to, I mean, maybe not because I'm a girl, but very easy to tap, because their thinking is very simplistic. It's very black and white. It's very kind of all or nothing, overemphasizing things, making it, this is why I don't get girls, and girls go for this, and it's that simple. It's very easy to attract this group of people. The thing is, a lot of people, I think, kind of unfortunately don't want anything to do with them. So when somebody comes and they cater to them, and this is kind of a criticism that we've been seeing, is like, well, a lot of times maybe the reason that these men turn to these right-wing lunatics is because the rest of us kind of do abandon them. And I don't think there's no merit in that. I think we do need better role models and we have to acknowledge their grievances. I think a lot of times, especially maybe on the left side of the political spectrum, we have this tendency to write them off because of their views towards women and stuff, and be like, well, they fucking suck, or make fun of them kind of. when these are people that a lot of times are lonely and need help. I know me and Hazard Stitt were talking about, I think he actually got the book. Richard Reeves is somebody who is doing, and I haven't read his book, but I've heard him speak and speak about his book. And he's somebody that is focusing on kind of even just men's issues in general is like a taboo topic sometimes on the left, because people are like, well, women are oppressed, men are not oppressed. So we shouldn't be talking about any men's issues, but I don't think that's true at all. I think that men are just as important as women, and there are certain things that they experience that we should address. But the problem is when we don't do that, that leaves this gap and that leaves a space for the wrong type of influences to come in, because they're the only people, and they're doing it in such a cheap, simplistic way that appeals to their minds because they don't know any better, and they can come in and take over. Especially men that are more uneducated seem to like this kind of stuff. Men who are younger, like we talked about, people like 11-year-old boys are really big fans of him. Not as much like 40-year-old neurosurgeons, very different demographic, very susceptible, kind of plastic minds are going to lean towards this. And if we don't have a better alternative for these people, this is what happens. So that's one of the reasons I like to talk about it. You blocked me on Reddit. If I blocked you on Reddit, it's probably for good reason. Won't block you here yet, but maybe. What types of content can I expect from it? This isn't the place to talk about that, unfortunately, but a lot of good content, and I'm going to be on there after this. Appealing to the disenfranchised by telling them what they can have. Why can't I not read on Twitch? I read, guys. I read a lot, okay? Like, I have my books, but for some reason here. Appealing to the disenfranchised by telling them they can have what they want has been happening for millennia. Yeah, but that's the thing. Tate doesn't really tell them that they can have what they want. I think, in a way, this is my theory, these guys also have like almost like not a fetish, but they're almost like, Tate kind of reinforces the narrative that they like. Okay, women all want the alpha male, blah, blah, blah. So it kind of reinforces the narrative that they're like, okay, well, women all want these kind of men. Like, that's what they want, rich, the high value men. And they're pretending that they don't. They're pretending that they like emotional intelligence, and they're pretending they like nice guys, and they don't. And so he is reinforcing their beliefs so they feel more validated by their misery, I think, in a lot of ways too. And then some of them think like, oh, okay, I'm just going to sign up for his $50 a month thing and my life will change. And there's that crowd too. Pigeon Emperors. I don't know about you. A lot of your comments missed, but you know what? I will give you props for coming back, because coming back to a place where we don't have a lot of allies is not easy. So props for that. All people are miserable if they don't work on themselves. That's true, but I don't think like we talked about before, anyone who says a lot of things, some of it's going to be true, some of it's not going to be true, some of it's going to be helpful, some of it's not going to be helpful. So if Andrew Tate says work hard, and people are like, it's just good advice, work hard. Yeah, sure. But the thing is, he also says a bunch of really stupid, unsubstantiated things too. So do his fans know how to discern the two? No. And are the fans, a lot of them, attracted to the stupid stuff? Yeah. Tate logic is the same as any flat earth, anti-vax, etc. agenda pusher. Anyone who denies it is on the inside. Yeah, the Matrix should immediately be discredited. The argument is to shut down actual debate. Well, Andrew Tate is anti-vax, and he's been called out because his ideology of what I experience is automatically true, and people are like, well, so is the earth flat? And he's like, no, because I've seen it be round. So do what you will with that. Hope he stays in jail forever. I don't know. But interestingly, we were talking about the similarities. Tate's $50 course was just, a Discord server, which he didn't. Yeah, that's what I hear. He's not even on it, and it's all stuff that you could learn from Google, and some of it is not even a good idea, is what I heard. And nobody that we know of has gotten rich off of following his advice. But, you know, it is what it is. And it's funny because a lot of the people that join that think OnlyFans girls are scamming you for some reason, even though we deliver the content. But he's been, and you know, $6.99 a month. You could pay $50 a month for a Discord server that he's not even on. So have fun. But interestingly, when looking at what, because we talked about the domains of similarity, like what are you similar in, music, etc. The things that really make a big difference that men and women look for, especially in long-term compatible relationships that we don't even realize: political views, career goals, food, travel, music, movie, culture, television. Interesting. There was some differences in men and women too. So women look more for similar. So political views was actually at the top for friendships, short-term romantic relationships, and long-term romantic relationships. How, like, political views was almost at the top. I think for long-term relationships, career goals was actually first and political views was second. But political views is always very high. People want to be around people who align with them politically, and I think that completely makes sense. And just so you know, a lot of women are a little bit more, there's less of a chance that they're going to be conservative Andrew Tate types. And if you are like that, then you are going to not attract as many women. And that's probably one of the many reasons that you don't do well with women is I don't. And I know a lot of girls that, not saying that there can't be anybody that's a great person that's conservative, but I have friends that, like, on dating apps, if they like literally won't, like, they'll do a moderate, but if it's conservative, they're like, no, they won't even talk to them. Not saying that you should change your political views to align with people, but I'm just saying, like, it's not attractive to be an asshole. And I'm not saying all conservative people are assholes, but I'm just saying, like, you know, women, we like compassion, we like empathy. So if you're, and it also depends on the kind of women you like, but none of us are like, yes, Trump fans. At least not women like me or in the area I am. Yes, generally people like people who enforce their worldviews. I suspect this is part of why I aggravate you, even though we probably share most morals and views. I don't think we share a lot, and you do not aggravate me. In fact, before you came, I was hoping you came back. I wouldn't say in this situation it's people who reinforce their worldviews. Why would you want to spend a lot of time with somebody who, like, for instance, a lot of us think our political views align with our moral views, right? So, you know, respecting people of, or, like, you know, having respect for human beings. A lot of people, I'm not saying, sometimes conservatives think they think that they're doing that, and liberals think they are doing that. But for instance, like, my views on immigration, it's not that I want somebody to reinforce that, but if my parents are immigrants and I really care about immigrants. So if you're over here like, get out of our country, build a wall, I think you're like a shitty human being. And why would I want to be around a shitty human being? It's not that I want my worldview reinforced. I just don't want to be around somebody who I think is an ignorant asshole. And I think none of us really do. And maybe on their end, they may think that about some of my views. I don't think necessarily people are looking for confirmation bias, because, like, for me, I consume so much right-wing, like, I might as well get a Daily Wire subscription at this point, because I like hearing their perspective, because I like to hear how the other side thinks so that I can better support my arguments. Now, there are people that are completely off the deep end, like I would say, like Matt Walsh, completely off the deep end. But I even listen to them. I don't sit around and want my worldview reinforced, but if I'm going to be around, if I'm gonna fuck you, my pussy's not gonna get wet if you're Matt Walsh. Like, it just literally will be dry. We all know, infamously, Ben Shapiro was very confused about the song WAP. I don't know if anyone remembers that. He's like, she probably has a condition. Why is her pussy so wet? No, I just think pussies don't get that wet for you. But interestingly, so those were things that were always high, but things that were lower on the list are like video game, computer brand preferences, cell phone preferences, but men actually thought that was more important than women. Social media usage. I actually want to pull up the study, or I'll go into it more next week, on what similarities people like to really focus on. And yeah, I think that like when someone has similar taste in movies or TV shows or music as me, I like that, you know, like I do. Like if I'm out on this does not happen, probably because I don't attract these kind of people, nor am I attracted to these kind of people. But like if I went on a date and the guy's like, I love country music, there's nothing wrong with country music. But if he was like, I love country music, I'm like, oh, you know, I'm just not like, we don't vibe in that aspect. Let me see, I gotta scroll up a little bit. Ooh. A big problem with men getting what they want in life is that they struggle understanding what will really make them happy because they tend not to have the best emotional/mental relationships with themselves. Yeah, that's true. And I think this is a big thing that's not talked about in the high value man domain. I have been watching, and I do think some people are just different, and it's not like, I know a lot of times we're like, oh, men are like this, women are like this, and just, there are differences between men and women, but you know, there are women who thrive off of, they want to be home, they want to be moms, and they want to have kids. There's nothing wrong with that. There are women who want to be the next president of the United, Hillary Clintons and the, you know, whoever's of the world, and they thrive in that environment. And I think it's also the same with men, like who's the guy, is it PB Patrick Bet David? I've been watching a lot of his, I think it's an interesting YouTube channel because he does do a lot of interviews with different kinds of people, and some of those discussions are really interesting, and he does have people on that are all over the political spectrum. But like when I was watching like his kind of, like, he just has this very like hustle till you're dead, and I feel like a lot of these alpha men have that. They're like, you need to like just work your ass off, like just never sleep, like just if you need to be in the office till midnight, like you need to blah blah blah. And like I think there are some people that they like this, and then he, like, you know, versus some people who there's the whole 4-hour work week kind of thing, and some people gravitate towards that, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. But these men that tell you that, oh, if you want to be successful and if you want to, you have to have this crazy work ethic, and kind of like the stuff we were talking about before, and this is a high value man, and this is what a high value man is going to do, and what he's going to want, and what he's going to, it's like, are you sure that that's what's going to make you, even if it made this person happy, are you sure that's what you want? Like, would you really rather have a, you know, $25 million home like he does, but like work like a 90-hour week? Maybe something to think about before you start watching these videos and thinking you're insufficient in some way because you don't care to like be at the office at 5 a.m. You know, a lot of the rewards that they also talk about, like, oh yeah, and then once you get there, like skip the parties now, because if you get there, you'll be partying with like cooler people. It's like, people are just people, you know. It's kind of like, and I think a cool, interesting podcast topic for the future would be looking at kind of this celebrity halo culture, like us thinking that, oh, because somebody's successful or because somebody's a celebrity, like they're so much, they're still human beings, and it really is just a psychological trick that tells us like they're, and it's something we've done. This is why we idolize gods. We've idolized our whole, like it's a natural human thing to look at like, ooh, in the hierarchy, the people at the top of the hierarchy. But you know, again, a lot of us will never reach it, and then even the ones that do realize, oh, you know, and we hear this about social media all the time, that, you know, oh, this person, like you idolize this person and you kind of think that they'd walk on water when you see them on social media, but we're all human beings, and social media a lot of times is an illusion, and we're all normal and we all have our flaws, and a lot of people don't look exactly like the way they do on social media. Not me. I look, because I don't know how to take pictures and anything. I never had social. I actually look better in person. Even my sister, she was like, I don't like to admit this, but she look better in person. But you know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't, or they don't live the lifestyles that they pretend to live on social media with their yachts and whatever. And like, how dumb that not only are we tricked into thinking those things are cool in the first place, but we're tricked by people who don't even have those things. And it's like, how much of people's lives do they waste doing that? And that's kind of what we talked about last week. All conservatives are ignorant assholes. No, I didn't say that. I actually specifically said all conservatives are not ignorant assholes. I think some conservatives are ignorant assholes. I even think some liberals are conservative assholes. Now, my political leanings, I think, are they're not super far left, but they lean farther left. And so if like I'm sitting across the table with a Matt Walsh, my social cues would my nonverbal cues would be like, get the fuck out of here. That's what I'm saying, and that makes sense. I just had this conversation at work. Oh, Puerto Rican Pod 22. Puerto Rican Pod 22, you got to come to my OF live after this. I know you'll be there. Being able to talk to the other side, the most important thing is being able to listen, respect the opinions. Yeah, you do have to respect opinions. I'm not saying you don't. I think you have to respect well-articulated opinions. And I think there are opinions on both sides of every issue, not every issue, but many issues, especially the issues at the forefront of our society, that there can be two respectable sides or multiple respectable sides to a position, but there can also be sides to a position that are not okay on either side. And there can be definitely opinions that aren't well articulated, well supported. And I think work is different. I always want to say work is different because at work, you're in a different setting and you're kind of like in survival. Now, it doesn't mean that you need to let all bad behavior slide, but when you're choosing the people you want to be around, because you don't necessarily choose your coworkers or your boss, I think in those settings, obviously we want to be around people who we think have well formulated opinions on things. I don't care if your opinion's different than mine. In fact, that's probably cool, but tell me why. Tell me why. Try to convince me as to why your opinion is better than my opinion. That's what I like to do. And a lot of times these people don't really do that. And that can be true on both sides. Like we talked about, was it last week? That like, I'm pro-choice, but I hate the my body, my choice, like kind of slogan, because I don't think that's actually a strong argument for being pro-choice. So that's something I see on the left a lot is my body, my choice. I'm like, well, that argument fails because of XX. So how can we strengthen this argument? You know, that's kind of what I'm talking about. Coworker of mine said she won't even have a conversation with certain people because she thinks it's pointless. I think there are people that it's pointless with. If people are too, I'm going to just come out and say it. I think some people don't have enough here sometimes to have these discussions. And I definitely noticed that online. Like if you're commenting something that is so incoherent, everything is spelled incorrectly, you're just like, oh, like me no like slut. Like, what kind of conversation can I have with you, you know? It's just like I'm just like super oblivious to any sort of nonverbal communication and or cues. Well, I sent this message a while ago. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with you because you're oblivious to those. Like I just said, you are predisposed to be more oblivious to those than like women are. But I think it's something that you can learn to maybe pay more attention to. And I think anything that you pay more attention to or you try to get better at, you'll get better at. You know, instead of just being like, well, I'm bad at it, so I'm just not gonna, like, you know, just be like, all right, this isn't a skill I have at the moment or not a skill I'm naturally gifted at, but I can get better at it. As a man, I hate the term high value. Yeah, it is very corny. It is very corny. And it's one of those things where it's like, even if you are a high value man, like if you were to say it, ew. Oh my God. I feel like if I was sitting across the room, like a table with like the most high value man of all time, and he just said, like, you know, as a high value man, oh, whoa. I'm just not one of those people. Mm-mm. I'm not somebody that says like, oh, you have to be super like, but even like, I never even sit across a table and I'm like, as a fucking beautiful woman. Like, it's just off-putting. Okay. Wait, you look better in person. I think I look better in person and everybody else says that, but maybe I don't. I don't know. It's crazy that people say shit like that out loud. Like, do you hear yourself? Yeah, I've never heard it in person. Again, there's stuff online that you see that you never see in person. I've talked about this before, but even like and I understand like a lot of these men that like for instance, what's that guy's name? The pigeon guy. I mean, the pigeon guy maybe won't even deny this, but there are some like him that are like, oh, like you. And then if I were to even like be like, hey, like give them a little bit, like maybe like let them think they're like sucking my dick, like literally, like you don't see in real life a lot of these keyboard warriors. We all know this. In real life, they're like melting when you're like give them 2 seconds of your attention. Yeah, these people are not people that actually stand by what they say, their values. Hi, Jazz. Sorry for the late show. I think committing to participating and exposing yourself to situations where you're required social life helps to develop that. Yes, this is a really, really good point. Thank you for saying this. We've talked about this before, but doing things you're uncomfortable with is key to in life. And this is something I struggle with a lot. I like to stay in my comfort zone, but if you stay in your comfort zone, nothing will change. The only way to change things in your life and to get better is to choose discomfort. And the more and more you do it, the easier it becomes because it activates the reward system of your brain. When you think, oh my God, like we've all seen this, like, oh my God, I'm so scared to give a speech. And then you do it and you do it and you do it. You're not going to be as scared the 50th time as you were the first time. And you will have learned a lot throughout that process. You will have gained confidence. You will have gotten comfortable in the discomfort and you will have grown. And that is not easy to do, but it is very much worth it. I've heard that shit, that some from females I've known. Oh, as the queen that I am, I deserve blah, blah. Yeah, and I mean, sometimes I guess it's a joke, and I think it's almost sometimes it's like a culture thing. Like I think, like for instance, in certain like even genres of music, like hip hop or like kind of like the Nicki Minaj. Like I will sit there with my friends, like singing along to music. Like I'm a bad, like I will do that too. But like I'm never actually in like serious conversation going to be like, as a queen, How discourteous of you to assume I'm interested in you romantically. I'm just assuming that if I DM'd you after this, you would be like losing your shit. Sorry. That's just what I think would happen based off all of my prior experiences online, but maybe not. It's not 100%. It's like these people who call themselves alpha, wouldn't it be more alpha move to not address that? Yeah. I think a lot of times the people online that call themselves alpha though are doing it so that they can attract an audience of men that are trying to learn how to be alpha. But I think people like Andrew Tate would actually just in person like be revolting also. I don't know. I've never met him. And if I did meet him, I would probably not engage in conversation for very long. Also, this is just like a personal thing with Andrew Tate. Isn't his voice annoying? Like, and I'm not just saying that. Like I said, I listen to plenty of people, and a lot of times voices of people that people generally find annoying, like even like a Ben Shapiro, I don't necessarily find his voice annoying. I can listen to it. It's not like the most pleasant, like, voice, but Andrew Tate, like I don't know what kind of accent he has or what, but it's just like so, I don't know. That's just a personal thing. Well, since we're on subject. Okay, you guys, Pigeon Emperors just rejected me. All right, moving on. His voice is bad. Yeah. Oh, Ben Shapiro sounds mad annoying. That I was just using that as an example to be like, I'm not somebody that's particularly sensitive to this. A lot of people's voices don't annoy me that are annoying, but him in particular, like, I don't know. It's like, and like, I know other people have said this. He just looks like a thumb. And I'm not someone to ever go after someone's looks, like ever, but with him, because he likes to put every single other person down, I'm just like, at that point, then you look at the person and you're like, you will start finding flaws with them, right? Like if somebody's like, I'm the best and you guys all suck, then I'm kind of like, wait a second, are you the best? I just cringe when I hear his name. I don't even like, a lot of times when I bring up Tate, I kind of more so am focusing on the Tate phenomenon as opposed to him specifically. I just think he's a lot bigger, especially like with the audience that like online audience I see online. Like I actually think Kevin Samuels was like a huge one too, but he was like, I feel like a lot more people of color listen to Kevin Samuels, and I don't see as much of like, I don't know how many of you in here are like, you know, more geared like, and Tate is a lot bigger, but I feel like in the like POC community, Kevin Samuels was a big one that I also was like, it worries me that it even became a thing. Like, what is wrong with us as a people? And that's what's the interesting thing about it is, and I hate when people are like, oh, don't talk about them. You're just giving them more attention. If they're relevant, we can't deny that they're relevant. And then we have to understand why. I don't think ignoring them is the solution. We have to dismantle them, but through the marketplace of ideas, and talk about why their ideas suck. I can tell you guys what makes Andrew Tate and people like him so popular, but I don't want to get yelled at again. Listen, we know. I don't think you have really great insight. I don't trust your insight very much. If you'd like to share, but don't just keep teasing like, I have the answer. I have something nobody knows. Like, no, you don't. Spy Kids. Wait, what? I didn't catch that. So yeah, I feel like today was like a fun stream on like nonverbal cues, and now next time I'm like in that kind of situation, I'm gonna be like super like watching my cues. So back to my, sorry, I'm gonna read the comment above. Human bias runs so much deeper than any of us can imagine. It's easy to exploit if you're the wrong kind of person. Yes. That's why I love studying human beings. I love learning about human beings. I love all the nuances of human beings, because I think understanding the human condition is something that is always going to be useful. That's why I got my undergrad in psych before I went to law school, because you can major in anything to go to law school. And I was like, I feel like this is something that'll be useful to me, like no matter what you do, like human behavior, human psychology. Not only am I interested in it, but it's something that's a useful skill kind of all the time. Same with philosophy. I think philosophy teaches, and it's interesting because for those who don't know, the test that you need to take to get into law school is the LSAT, and it's supposed to test your logic and your ability to analyze, etc. And philosophy majors and like philosophy and like the super like people who do like really intense math or whatever, they do the best on those tests. And it makes sense because, and they say this in law school too, that law school doesn't teach you the law, it teaches you how to think. And I think not so much psychology, but philosophy and, you know, people who are trying to be like physicists, they develop these skills, like those critical thinking skills and how to think. And I love studying that stuff, especially now that my brain isn't fried from a mundane 8 to 5. I get to be a sex worker. I'm like, cool, now I can research and talk about things I'm interested in. So going back to my conversation at work today, I asked my coworker if she thought we were moving forward as a society. And I think that although I feel like people are moving forward, it's also moving us apart, oddly enough. I did look into this not long ago about whether social media is actually driving us farther apart. And I don't remember. I don't necessarily. Oh, no, you know what it was? I was looking at, remember my conspiracy theory stream? And I was like, is social media adding to conspiracy theories? And I don't remember what. I remember I found like an answer, but I don't remember the answer. Conspiracy theories have always been around. I don't know if having the internet and having a place for them to all congregate and reinforce this, and we have talked about before the 3 ends of radicalization as it pertains to incels. Need narrative network, and I think you could apply that to conspiracy theories too. People have a need for them, and we discussed in that stream what maybe are some factors that contribute to somebody having being attracted to conspiracy theories. you need to have a narrative. And I think like with incels, we know what it is. With conspiracy theories, we know what it is. Oh, there's these bad actors and we're like the good people, bad guys, good guys. We know better. Government is lying to us, which to a degree is true, but not to the conspiracy degree that that's the Matrix. And then network. They need a network in order to be radicalized too. And I think social media, you can argue, definitely provides people with a network that they wouldn't otherwise have. For instance, incels wouldn't really probably even engage with other incels because a lot of them are loner type of people, which there's nothing wrong with. I would say I'm somewhat of a loner, not in that way. But they found this online network, and that can be damaging. Let's see. Okay, so Pigeon Emperors kept telling us he's not going to tell us, but now he decided to tell us, probably because we said we don't really care, but let's read it. The short story is that there is a deficit of information and guidance for men about how they generally are valued in society with the empowerment of women. Very good thing. Just getting a generic job and providing is far less valuable because women are not dependent. Yeah, I've said all this before. Okay. I'm the same way in which I tend to stay in my comfort zone. I think that it might just be a subconscious thing that I'm not even aware of. You're probably aware of it because you're confronted with opportunities all the time to step out of your comfort zone and you don't take them. Maybe you try to not think about it too deeply, but like we see people who do brave things all the time. And I see that and I'm like, wow, I wouldn't do that. I'd be scared to do that. And that is an example of me staying in my comfort zone. I think the problem is more a self-realization that we are more different from each other, and the internet puts it on display more easily. We always been different. Yeah, and the internet allows us to that's one topic I want to do in the future. Internet allows us to not have to deal with a lot of the social norms, or it allows us to put on display our worst behavior because we don't have the consequences. A word that Hazard and I really like is negative social sanctions. You don't get the same negative social sanctions by saying something online that you would in person, and a lot of things you say online you wouldn't say in person. So I think that it gives an opportunity for the worst behavior to come out of people. I also think there are some trolls that don't have anything else going for them, and there is research on this that internet trolls score high in traits like psychopathy, and it's like an outlet for them because a lot of these people also aren't people that can go around and assert dominance in real life, and so they do it on the internet because it's the only place they can. Interesting stuff. I think social media just exacerbated the estrangement of people with different values who are unwilling to understand and accept. Yeah, there's also, I think social media highlights the fringe on each side. There's so many people kind of in the middle, and even like this manosphere, right? Like if you were to focus on it, you would think like, oh my gosh, this is so many men, right? Or we talked about this in the porn episode. You look at some of these places online and you're like, oh my God, these men they're having this big issue with porn. And then like you even hear them themselves, right? They're stuck in this bubble and they're like, oh my God, like this is ruining like all men's lives. And then you actually take yourself out of that and you look at the data and it's like, oh, first of all, this is not a scientifically recognized thing, but even out of the surveys we've done where we actually ask like a larger population what percentage of men actually think they even have a problem with this, it's like 4%. But that 4% online is very, very loud, and if you were just to focus on that, you would think, oh my gosh, this is like a huge crisis that men are having. But no, it's certain men. Also, these people are more likely to spend time online because these people don't have very fruitful social lives. And that doesn't mean that if you spend time online, you don't have a fruitful social life automatically. But it also, they're more likely to comment. Like I notice even on my live streams, I don't know how many people are in here now, and this is a very different setting, but if I'm live on, let's say, TikTok, and there's like 500 people in the live, there's like 10 people that are commenting. So if I was to look at the 10 people that are commenting and be like, this is how the people in the live feel, well, that's only 10 out of 500. And maybe this 10 out of 500 are more likely to comment for a reason that makes them different than the other 490 people. But our brains automatically go, this is what people think who are watching this live, when it's not. It's just what the people more likely to vocalize what they think about the live. Does that make sense? I'd argue we're more similar than we often realize. I think, yeah, you can focus on similarities or you can focus on differences. There's going to be plenty of both. There's going to be plenty of ways we're different from each other, and there are going to be plenty of ways we're similar from each other. I mean, we're similar to each other. The fact that we're all human beings, the fact that we all probably speak the same language. If you're reading stuff online, we're in the same, do you know how like, do you know how unlikely it is that you and me, both of us, happen to be here at the same time? This is like one of those high thoughts, right? When you're like high and you're like, oh my God, like the fact that out of all of like history and time and everything, we are here and we're the same species, and we are here at the same moment interacting with each other. Like that on its own, we're very similar just for that. But obviously we're different in a lot of ways too. Oh, Pigeon Emperors is still going. Okay. If anyone wants to, I'm here in good faith. Yeah, no one's saying you're not, but if you want us to, I can read it. Thus, men are desirous of this value, and there's a guaranteed reality that if you become very wealthy, competent, and powerful with a developed personality, you will find a mass increase in all the benefits the society offers men. That is what Tate effectively articulates themselves to dismiss him because the system demonstrably works. You either need to prove alternative traits are highly effective or their healthier attitudes supersedes him. Well, that's what the whole last stream was about. You didn't agree with. So I don't know why. If you want to, we only have 13 minutes. I don't really want to go back into the stuff from last week, but the whole point is you either need to prove alternative traits are highly effective. Yeah, they are highly effective in life satisfaction and well-being, which are the things that most people actually want. Now, a lot of people think you're going to get those things by getting a $25 million mansion, but that is not what research indicates, which you just don't agree with. So I don't even know if Tate would think you're a top G for being on an OnlyFans Girls Twitch stream. So maybe you should go do that. All right. Anything else? I mean, I'm not trying to be reductionist, but your attempt at validating your argument is just not engaging enough to argue. Yeah, that's what it is. And I do try, especially since there's not that many of you in here. One of these days I might blow up and I can't read all your comments. So comment what you want now while I'm still tiny. But yeah, I do try to, I don't block anyone unless they're just not contributing anything. Pigeon Emperors, you're not blocked for a reason, but at the same time, I don't want to sit here and drag out every point that you make, because a lot of them we've already done and some of them just aren't engaging, and the audience also doesn't seem to be really interested. That's all. Yeah, and then you will miss Pigeon. Okay. All right. Well, if you're a billionaire with power and possessions and the Tate mentality and the whole world hates you, are you where you want to be? If you're literally Andrew Tate and you're sitting in a jail cell in Romania in, like, apparently, like he says, solitary confinement, like losing his mind. Well, I don't know, guys. Maybe Bugatti isn't worth it, you know? So again, focus on what's really important in life first. Doesn't mean those things are bad. Doesn't mean money and women and all those things are bad. But if that's where you place your identity and that is what you're searching for in life, you will be disappointed. Most likely you'll be disappointed because you're never going to reach it. But a lot of times the people that do reach it, which is a very, very small minority, are still disappointed, or they get their asses handed to them like Tate. He's like, I'm on day 30. Like, this is nobody's locked in a room. Man up. All right. It's a good thing to know that Twitch are almost always echo chamber, especially since they're sort of in love with. So there's a good chance they will mirror your opinions back to you. Well, actually, Twitch is actually not very friendly towards females. It's kind of known knowledge on here. Now I have really smart, educated people that like to join my streams. But you have very incel mentality of being like, well, they agree with you just because you like a girl. No, I think that maybe my points are just better articulated than yours, and you have no evidence to the contrary. All right. I await the day Hazard Stint disagrees with you ever, for instance. Me and Hazard Stint have had like disagreements, or we've like brought insight in on different things, different kind of topics to each other. The difference is me and Hazard Stint both actually think out our arguments. So by the time that we make them, they're pretty well thought out. So that's just the difference between, yeah. Yeah, just get over the fact that you're bad at rational inquiry. Me and Hazard Stint do think alike because we're both atheists, we're both humanists, we're both curious about the human condition, human nature. And so we're going to have a lot of similarities. Obviously, we're not going to agree with you. You have people that agree with you. You're just on the wrong stream. You need to go to like incels.co, and then you will have plenty of people who agree with you. Find me a Twitch chat where the vast majority of chatters are agreeing with everything the streamer says. Don't you mean disagreeing? I don't know what you're talking about. Find me a Twitch stream where vast majority of chatters are agreeing with everything. There aren't agreeing with the majority of. One, I like to watch Hassan on Twitch, and he constantly has trolls in his stream talking shit. That's the only Twitch streamer I watch a lot of the time. I watch a little bit of Destiny. I don't watch any of the girls. Twitch is a big video game place too. And I don't like use the app really, except when I'm on it. I like YouTube. So even his stuff just pops up on my YouTube stream and I click it. But he's constantly, I don't know what you're talking about. He's not a female. Your point was Twitch is negative to females. His on is an invalid example. The whole reason that women that, words like incel, etc., were banned to use as an insult was because women streamers who were being attacked by, they call them raids or whatever, that's why this happened. That's why women had to stop women can no longer wear a bikini top unless they're by the water, because a bunch of you guys, you probably, got really upset about it. There is some of that. I just don't have that big of an audience on here yet, and my audience is just intellectually curious. But I'm sure, and literally, I've been on plenty of lives not like this, when people can like just scroll on like TikTok, etc., where a lot of people hated me, like yourself. I'm not kidding. I don't think you hate me, but you know what I'm saying. All right. Anyways, I know Pigeon Emperors likes to spend as much time trying to speak to me as possible on the one platform he can. But I am getting ready to go. Oh, thank you, Biggie Jerseys. First time checking your stream, and I'll definitely be coming back next time. Thank you. I love seeing new people on here, and I really appreciate the positive feedback. And I like criticism as long as the criticism is valid. Pigeon Emperors being like, well, you're a girl, so people like, okay. Pigeon sounds like he gets mad when the crust gets left on his PB&J. Pigeon sounds like the person who crust gets left on his PB&J, and he has to let everybody, he's trying to get it like attention for it. Like, he'll go around and be like, my crust is left on this. And people are like, okay, we don't care, Pigeon. And he's like, but look, like, that's kind of what I think about him. Okay. Anyways, 6 minutes till stream number 2. A more fun. I mean, I think this is fun too, but a different kind of stream. You guys can join me over there, and I will see you next week.